Software developers who want to build apps for Android mobile devices need Android Studio, an integrated development environment, or IDE, that's available for free from Google. Android Studio is based on IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition, a leading Java IDE from JetBrains. Like Android Studio, IntelliJ IDEA is available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and the Community Edition is also free. But you don't need IntelliJ IDEA to create Android apps. Android Studio has everything you need. Android Studio was first announced at the Google I/O conference in May of 2013, and then released as a 1.0 product in December of 2014. It's been through many iterations since then. In fact, it's updated frequently, between 2 and 4 times a year. It inherits great code editing and debugging functionality from IntelliJ IDEA, and adds lots of tools that are unique to Android development. Layout editors, resource editors and managers, tools for managing the Android SDK and virtual devices, and lots more. This course covers Android Studio 4.0. This new version was still in the Canary channel, a preview state, when the course was recorded. There are some new features since the last version of the course, and other features that have been improved. And the entire product has been made faster and easier to use. My name is David Gassner, and I'd like to welcome you to this tour of the latest version of Android Studio. This course is designed for application developers who want to learn how to build apps for Android mobile devices. It's a beginning course, and in fact, it's one of the first courses you might want to watch to learn how to use all of Google's tools for Android developers. When you're building apps for Android, you'll be programming in either Java or in Kotlin. If you're working on older legacy apps, you might still be working with Java. But moving forward, if you're building a brand new application, it's very likely that you'll be working with Kotlin. And that's because Google has decided that going forward, Android is a Kotlin-first platform. So learning about Kotlin is probably your first skill that you'll want outside of Android Studio. In this course, the primary focus is on the IDE, not on building complete apps. So if you're watching this course without first learning the programming language, that's fine. The focus is on the tool. But to actually build the apps, you'll need the language. Start with the course Kotlin Essential Training. And then there are many other intermediate and more advanced courses on using Kotlin to build apps for Android. Android Studio is based on the product IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. And just about everything you do in terms of generic code editing, refactoring variable names and function names and so on come directly from IntelliJ IDEA. So the more you know about IDEA, the more you know about Android Studio. You can watch this course to learn about the base product. If you've watched that course and this one, you'll have all the tools you need to get started building Android applications in Android Studio. In order to run Android Studio on your development computer, you'll need certain minimums in your operating system and in your hardware. If you're working on Microsoft Windows, you can use Windows 7, 8, or 10, and Android Studio supports both 32 and 64-bit Windows. If you're working on a Mac, you'll need Mac OS 10.10, Yosemite, or later, and on Linux, you'll need a version that has the GNOME or the KDE desktop, and like Mac, you can only use 64 bits on Linux. For hardware, in general, more is better. For random access memory, 4 gigabytes is the absolute minimum regardless of operating system, and 8 gigabytes is really recommended. I like working on computers with 16 gigabytes because Android Studio never runs out of memory then. To install the product, you'll need a minimum of 2 gigabytes of hard disk space, and more is better. And it will be no surprise if I say that a faster processor will make the software run faster. More importantly, having multiple cores improves Android Studio's performance because it's frequently doing multiple tasks simultaneously. Minimally, I recommend a computer with a dual-core CPU, but if you can get more cores, it's even better. And for a display, you'll need a minimum resolution of 1280 by 800. A higher resolution will let you see more on the screen, but that's the minimum that you absolutely need. To install Android Studio on Microsoft Windows, start at the Android Developer website at developer.android.com and click on the Android Studio link. On this web page, you can download the most recent stable version of Android Studio. As of the date of this recording, that was version 3.5.3. But if instead you want to download a preview release, click on the preview link. Here, you'll be able to choose from the most recent preview releases. As of the time of this recording, there was version 3.6, Release Candidate 2, and version 4.0, Canary 9. And that's the version that I'll be using. If you download a stable version, you'll get a conventional Windows installer application. There aren't very many options in it, and you really can't go wrong, so just run the installer and install the software. The process for installing a preview release, though, isn't quite as intuitive, so I'll show you how that works. I've already downloaded a zip file to my desktop. When I open up the zip file, I'll see a directory called Android Studio, and in there a whole bunch of subdirectories. You'll want to extract this Android Studio directory and put it somewhere on your hard disk. Now, I've placed this directory under my Program Files directory under a directory that I created called Android Studio. From there, I'll click into the contents of the directory, and then I'll look at the bin subdirectory, and this is where all the executable files are. There are two applications here to know about: Studio, which is for 32-bit Windows, and Studio 64, which is for 64-bit Windows. I'm working on a 64-bit version of Windows 10, so I'll double-click to start Android Studio from there. If you see this dialog appear, you're on the right track. And I'll next show you how to choose what happens in this dialog, and then how to continue setting up the Android SDK.